try and look for the inside, but it was closed off. There was absolutely no way through there.
He's a determined driver. He'll be trying everything he possibly can.
This is where the excitement's at. This has been really intense.
This is a really spicy battle.
It's still absolutely neck and neck. RaceSpot swapping paint between the two of them.
Well, hello everyone and welcome to race meeting number 3 of the Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge Great Britain for 2024. My name is Corey Maddock, and as always I'm joined by the one, the only Paul Smith as we head to the home of British Motorsports. We head to Silverstone for this midway point round of the championship, Paul. I can't wait to get it started, especially given the conditions look a little interesting out there.
Yeah, certainly a bit tricky for the drivers out there in qualifying. We'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, it's going to be who's going to be the bravest and who's going to make those conditions work in their favour to get pole position here in the early going. But I'm looking forward to this. Silverstone always delivers, and this should be an absolute cracker.
Absolutely does. I absolutely love the circuit for the racing that it can provide. Of course, we are slap bang pretty much in the middle of the season here. It's only a 5-round season. We're in race meeting number 3 of 5. Next week, or rather in 2 weeks' time, we'll be heading to Alton Park International for our 4th round, and then of course we will finish things up with race meeting number 5 at Brands Hatch. But there's a lot to look forward to in this championship, lots to look forward to today actually. We've got lone qualifying going on at the moment. Drivers will get themselves 2 flying laps inside of 10 minutes that they will have to complete. They do it all by themselves, no effect from other cars whatsoever, just them versus the track. Then we head into our first race of 30 minutes, and then we'll have in a second race of 30 minutes. That race 2 grid will be set based on the results of race number 1. It's a fixed setup here today with standing starts for both classes. Speaking of the classes, we have 2, Pro and Am. The Pro drivers use the Porsche GT3 Cup car, and the Am drivers use the Porsche Cayman GT4 Club Sports. In terms of prizes, the top 3 drivers from each class will win a half-day driving experience at the Porsche Experience Center at Silverstone. We just so happen to be here today, with the Pro drivers being able to drive the 911 and the Am drivers being able to drive a Cayman, trying to reflect the similar sorts of machines that are used in the simulator. In terms of championship, it looks a little bit like this. It's been a fantastic start to the season for both of your championship leaders. Matt Caruana and Aidan Carter, the only drivers on triple digits in each class, with their closest competitors relatively far away. Jack Jeffries P2 in Pro class, with Will Ewell in 3rd. Over in GT4, Alistair Pollock will be a couple of points away, or rather a couple of points ahead of Adam Grievesome there in terms of your top 3. But of course, you know, we still got the majority of races left to go in this season. Everything can still change from this point forwards. But it looks like those top competitors at the moment are really, really difficult to beat at this stage in the championship. I don't know if anyone can be able to step up to the plate. But as we dive into the qualifying session here at Silverstone, you might notice a tiny bit of spray behind some of these cars. It does mean that things are still quite damp out there. There's a split decision up and down the grid, Paul, about what tyres to use in this initial part of qualifying. It's basically a 50-50 split between wets and slicks.
Yeah, drivers are throwing a roll of the dice, I think, here with this one. It's wet, but it's not raining. It's quite a strong wind as well, we're getting up to 38 kilometers an hour wind speed here. So the water will move away from the track and get blown away by that. For these drivers, I think you're going to see it split amongst the pros and the AMs. The AMs, they've got the advantage of having ABS and traction control on their GT4 machinery, whereas these Cup cars here in iRacing, they do not have any driver aids, no traction control, no ABS. I think you're going to see more of those drivers trying the wet weather tyres here in this one. Although, looking at my timing screen, if it's not mistaken, I think only Christian Zaruta of the pros is on slicks. Everyone else in pro is on wet.
That kind of lines up. It's a little bit of a split decision between in terms of class lines here at the moment, because most of the AMs are on wets, excuse me. You know, there's a split decision here. So most of the AM drivers, they look like they are going to be on the slicks. It's most of the pro drivers that are on wets at the moment. So maybe there's a little bit of a behavior difference between each car and how they handle slick and wet tires in these sorts of conditions, which is very, very interesting to see indeed. But we are seeing the first couple of lap times go up onto the board. I see a little bit of a chat in the Porsche Twitch chat saying that can they not switch tires, or is it park permit conditions? And I believe the same thing you do there, the Porsche social media admin. I believe they can switch tires between now and the race, so in between the sessions.
Yeah, they certainly can. The thing is, in qualifying, because you've just got those 2 laps that you can set a lap time to, you don't have the chance to be able to pit and then come out and do another fast lap on a different set of tyres. You've got to pick your tyres for qualifying. Annoyingly, my timing software is not giving me the tyre sets for Cooper, Caruana and Crisp. So that's it's frustrating from us. But they're matching the times of those others who are showing us wet weather shots. So we'll have to see. But it's all about, with the slick tyres, you can make it work in those tricky damp conditions as long as you can get the tyre temperature there. Now, because you've got a limited number of laps here in qualifying, you may be err on the side of caution, go for the wet tyres and almost guarantee yourself a level of grip. But if you risk it, you can get some reward, and Aidan Carter's certainly seen that in AM. Half a second between him and Alistair Pollock, although Adam Graveson now to the head of the standings.
James Armstrong is currently the only pro driver on slicks. So this is going to be a very, very interesting lap time for him as he tries to tiptoe his way around. Still doesn't look like it's quite the right conditions. He's struggling to keep that car gripped up. It's pushing all over the place. So yeah, it's a tricky one, and you can see why maybe a lot of the pro drivers decided to go onto the wet tires. But let's see how this lap will turn out for James Armstrong, to try and see where the bike baseline really is here in terms of, you know, the slick performance at the moment.
But here's the thing, he's getting a lot of information for the race, because as we saw at Donington Park, wet tyres were the wrong choice at Donington. Now that doesn't automatically mean that they're the wrong choice of tyre for the first race here. Oh, and that's what happens when you touch the painted surfaces. Is 5 seconds off of the fastest time in qualifying. That's showing how much difference there is between slicks and wets. The question is, when you get to the race situation, where's that threshold going to be? Where's that crossover going to be where the wet tyres are overheating and slowing down the drivers, and the slick tyres are maybe not just coming into it? Where's that crossover? We don't know yet. And that's really interesting to see whether we end up seeing some starting on wet, some starting on slicks. I think you might see these pros starting on wets, you know, with how it's been out there.
And it's very interesting, under these conditions, Matt Caruana unable to get himself onto the front row of the starting grid. He's down into P5 there in the pro order. So a bit of a shake-up at the front of pro. Alistair Pollock across the line. Let's see what sort of lap time he's able to do. Alistair Pollock good enough for second place on the grid in the AM category. Aiden Carter has been fantastic in this session as well, as he has been pretty much all season. He has a 2.5 tenth of a second advantage over Pollock there, but yeah, bit of a change at the top of the pro order.
And time's running out, and here's the thing: you don't get to finish your laps, I don't think, with it being a fixed lap count qualifying. So drivers now, there you go. There's end of qualifying. That's it. So you're starting where you set your times.
Absolutely. So the grid is set for race number 1, as we'll go into racing mode here on the server as we see the order at the start of this race here for the pro category. It is Will Eatwell on pole position with Jack Jeffrey sharing the front row. No front row start for Matt Caruana, as Luke Andrews will line up P3 with Ben Cooper in P4. Caruana, 5th place. A lot of work to do from there with Matthew Crisp lining up on his outside. Then you've got Ben Smith in P7 with Edward Hope in P8, with Dave Martin P9, George Tyler in P10, William Hope 11th with James Armstrong, the only slick attemptee in the pro order in qualifying. Then you've got Christian Struter, Cody Cosworth and Glenn Humberston rounding out the 15-car pro order. Then you've got, down in AM, you've got Aiden Carter, pole position once again, with Alistair Pollock on that front row as well. Adam Graveson in P3 with Mike Pierce P4. Carl Chase and Denise Pope will line up 5th and 6th respectively. Then you've got Chris Chard and Cav Budd 7th and 8th. Nick Scott Dickerson there in P9 with Wayne Basson P10. Stuart Rice and Roy Weller round out the top 12 there. So having a little look towards our starting grid then, there they are, all starting to get themselves ready. What are the conditions here today that they have to deal with? Yes, there's a bit of a gap in sim between qualifying and the race, and I can say at the moment I'm seeing drivers go on towards the slick tires. I will just confirm that once the drop of the green flag arrives and our timing screens update, but this is going to be a very, very interesting one. In these damp conditions, those tires, those slick tires, are not going to warm up quickly whatsoever. Race meeting number 3 then here for the Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge. Great Britain is about to get itself underway. We are green here at the home of British Motorsport as they try to get themselves away and down in towards turn number 1. Good start from Will Eatwell from pole position as they all have to file in behind. Spray still being thrown up by these slick tires. It is still very damp and treacherous out here into the first major braking zone of the lap. So careful on cold tires and brakes. I'm not seeing anyone have any major issues here at the moment. Let's see if the bunching up at the back causes some. No, they're all able to get themselves through.
Yeah, and if my eyes don't deceive me, my timing screen is telling me that only Christian Zaruta out of the entire grid is on wet tyres. So expect to see him making some moves early on in this race, but as that race goes on, I think he'll start to struggle going on out there.
Oh, he's down the inside of a couple of cars already. Through on George Tyler. Bit of contact sends Cozy Cosford across the circuit, avoiding action being taken by James Armstrong. He's able to get out of the way. It causes a bit of drama for some of our AM competitors here as well. Alistair Pollock actually able to get one over Aiden Carter in and amongst that situation. So Pollock up to the lead of AM.
Yeah, you've got to take the opportunities while they come, and as they come into Copse Corner then, somebody famously said that you can't overtake at Copse Corner. Well, you will see some of that.
Oh, Armstrong around.
Car flying off there. That was James Armstrong. Armstrong's off.
It was a tangle with Pollock as well, and he's fallen down the order down into 3rd place in AM. Aiden Carter re-inherits the race lead, this time from Mike Pierce. It was the 2 different classes of cars getting into a tangle coming off of Cox Corner, and it ended in that instant that you just saw there. Meanwhile, further up the field, attempts being made Jack Jeffries trying to defend from a hard-charging Matt Caruana. He's up a couple of spots already, trying to break into the top 2 now, following closely in towards the Vale, but there's no opportunity down the inside here, surely, in these conditions.
Well, they'll get themselves slowed down. I'll tell you what, fair credit to the drivers out there. After how we saw them at Donington Park, how they seem to struggle on those opening couple of laps, they're doing a really good job of it this time around. Very, very tricky conditions for the drivers. Here's the replay, and that's what happened to Armstrong into the wall there on the outside, and that's giving him the black and orange mechanical warning flag, the meatball flag, and he's going to be heading to pit road. In fact, he's taking a tour back to pit road. Car 2 stopped. That's Christian Zaruta.
Zaruta, so the only one in this entire grid that went on towards the wet tyres for the start of this race. Looks like he's gotten into a bit of a tangle. Here's the replay of it. Looks okay there. And ooh, down the insides. That's Dave Martin, I believe. You know, completely overcooking it on the way down into the braking zone there.
And is that a case of slick tyres onto a wetter line on the track, and he's not been able to stop the car quite as quickly as he could normally do? That could potentially be that, but still, Zaruta, he'll be a little bit aggrieved behind the wheel of the car. I tell you what, they're risking it going over that painted curb there on the outside of Copse Corner. We've seen what happened to Armstrong during qualifying when you touch the curbs, the wet curbs with your slick tyres, but these drivers, they're pushing those limits.
They are. I'm kind of wincing every time they go over the curb here, because we saw so many problems in qualifying and in practice, of course. Yes, the track is drier from then, but still you have to be a bit cautious when you go back to your sort of normal dry line. It can still really catch you out, especially as the regular racetrack is drying, but the curbs may not dry out as fast as the actual racetrack, so they're still going to be slippery and wet on the painted stuff.
Yeah, it seems to retain the water. I mean, the curbs, because they've got that razor tooth profile to them, they do hide little puddles of water in them, so they just retain that water a little bit longer. But also, you know, that painted surface, it just becomes really slick, really slippy when it's damp. If anybody's ever walked along a painted surface after it's just been raining, you'll know that it's very slippy unless you've got that anti-slip paint on the ground. So yeah, it's very difficult for these cars, but the driver's doing a superb job. And I tell you what, Connery, after race 1 at Brands Hatch, Will Eatwell, he's made sure that he stayed on the slick tyres like everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. As looking at the 94 here, Will Hope just slipped down the order somewhat, has been brought back into a little bit of a fight now with Glenn Humberston. A little bit down the order, so it's not been the most fantastic race so far for Will Hope. He's lost a chunk of time on this particular lap, at least on the order of about 3 or 4 seconds, and is looking to try to recover that now, but under pressure from Humberston, as Humberston had a little bit of a look in towards Copse Corner, but it's just a show of the nose and nothing more. And again, careful up over the curbs, but it seems like drivers are getting confident with it.
I think that's because they've got the heat into the tyres, and I think Zaruta now is really struggling out there. The track in Sim is now showing us mostly dry, so that means it's definitely slick weather now out there, and Zaruta will be thinking, well, I was starting from the back of the pro lineup, I might as well throw the dice. There's no loss there because he is at the back of that pro field at the moment.
Lots of position between Edward Hope and Matthew Crisp. There they are, side by side down in towards the Vale. Hope on the inside for the first apex. Crisp, if he's able to hold on, he has the inside for the second apex, and of course Club Corner as well. Still absolutely level between these two. This is for P6 in the pro order, and Matthew Crisp is able to hold on to that one. And actually Ben Smith has a run here, might be able to challenge Hope down in towards the first sector, but no, decides better of it, decides to stay in line. drivers being a little bit more conservative given the conditions here, because if you do try to go for an overtake offline, that's where the track is wetter and where the slip tires are not quite going to work as well. So it does limit your overtaking opportunities.
It certainly does, but even forcing your fellow competitor into a defensive move can give you a bit of an advantage. So, yeah, definitely opportunities do exist out there in these mixed conditions. But I think now these drivers, they'll still not be at 10 tenths in terms of their normal pace, but they're at 9 tenths right now. I mean, last lap, the fastest lap was Ben Cooper with a 2:07.520. You compare that to the qualifying times, pole position was a 12.785, so they're already going 5 seconds quicker than qualifying.
And that pace will just pick up as time goes on here. We are not expecting any rain for the rest of this race. Completely zeros in terms of the precipitation percentage on the iRacing weather forecast here at the moment. And even if you look with your Mark 1 eyeball, it's a bit grey out there, but nothing too scary in terms of clouds. So yeah, this race expected to be dry throughout. Whether or not race 2 will have any surprises is still yet to be seen. But for now, it looks like slick conditions all the way to the end. But look at the front of this field. The pro order, all 3 of your podium sitters, all within the same postcode here. Don't count Luke Andrews out of this one as well, as he tries to lock onto the back of this group of 3. But isn't this fantastic? We've had runaway race winners for so many races so far this season, Paul. It's great to see this.
We did see in that opening round, remember though, Caruana being under intense pressure from Jack Jeffries. It's now Caruana putting the pressure on down the inside, but he's got to give the space to Jeffries, who's going to have the inside line now. But this is where Caruana can get the cutback. Lovely move that you can make there through the loop, through Aintree, onto the Wellington Straight. And well, that is position gained, and Will Eatwell will be looking in his rearview mirror and thinking, uh-oh.
Yeah, that was a fantastic sequence of corners there for Caruana, showing that, well, the reason why he's, one of the reasons why he's the top point scorer here at the moment, although Jeffries is going to try and pressure the rear bumper, try and give a little bit of a response here to make sure that, hang on, Caruana, you're not going to get away that easily. And actually, there's ample slipstream opportunities here at Silverstone, so Jeffries could potentially utilize that, especially if Caruana gets a bad exit out of somewhere. But right now, that number 20 is looking very, very solid indeed. Next driver on his list, Will Eatwell, the number 1 driver at the very front of this field. Through Maggots and Beckett's to one of the most fantastic sections of any racing circuit ever. So much so that others try to copy it. Coming out of Chapel then, and this run all the way down towards Stowe. This is going to be one of your big opportunities in the dry, at least. And as this track does get drier and drier, these opportunities will open up a little bit more, but no space to do so this time around.
It's always good when you get these Porsches being able to really stretch their legs around Silverstone. You get them to their top speeds, and again, Caruana just trying to get into the mind and into the eye line of Will Eatwell, trying to force him offline. You can see there's barely any spray getting brought up by the tyres, but as soon as you go offline, you get little bits of spray. That's just cooling down the tyres just that little bit. Will have a little bit of an effect, but Will Eatwell, fastest lap of the race, he is responding. Caruana did do a faster lap, but it was invalidated by an off-track.
They do have to be careful. They get 20 incident points, and then they start getting drive-through penalties so they get one at 20, and then they get one at every 10 afterwards. So you do have to be careful of that if you've decided to catch them all like Pokemon in the opening stages of this race. So we'll keep an eye on the battle for the race lead at the very, very top of your screen. There's battles going on elsewhere. in AM as well. A bit of a bit of a battle between Alistair Pollock and Adam Graveson here at the moment at the very bottom of your picture as the front three continue, front three and pro at least, continue to be very close indeed. You kind of have to have your attention diverted somewhat here. Caruana, good run though over Will Eatwell at front of the field, but the next corner is Cop's corner, which is not typically an overtaking spot, although there are people who try both in the real world and in sim racing. But for Caruana, it does look like he has the clear air pace here at the moment. He just has to try and find a way through on that #1 car of Eatwell. There's no obvious way through just yet.
I've seen one of my favourite overtakes in the history of the Porsche Tag or Esports Super Cup around the outside of Cop's corner by Josh Thompson. It was an incredible move from him, and so it shows that he can make overtakes here around Cop's and in these Porsche 992 GT3 Cup cars. They certainly are fantastic machinery. Christian Zaruta, by the way, he's admitted defeat and taken his he's got his wet tyres off and puts a set of slicks on now. It's just basically practice for the second race. But these drivers, not just in pro but in AM as well, they are pushing and pushing hard each and every lap. Caruana now, fastest lap.
This is an incredible amount of pressure that Eatwell has to deal with. He needs an impressive defensive display to keep Caruana behind him, because I get the feeling Caruana is quite a bit faster if they were both in clear air. But Caruana still can't get his way through at the moment, and he's always got that looming presence of Jack Jeffries in that sort of British racing green Porsche behind here at the moment as well. Caruana doesn't have that much room to breathe, although the opportunity might open up here in towards Brooklands. Caruana down towards the inside, late on the brake, as late on the brakes as possible, trying to squeak his way through there, but no, Eatwell gets the good run off the corner, allows him to get to the inside of Luffield. Here comes Jeffries looking down the inside of Caruana, so from attack to defense for that bright red Porsche, but is able to stem the bleeding for now. But they're just so close together. This entire top three, you can throw a blanket over all of them. Caruana has a run once again. Oh, just had a look in towards Copse, but decided against it. Looks like he has so much mid and exit corner speeds as Caruana that he can really leverage that to try and go for these moves. But again, Will Eatwell's just driving so well defensively.
Yeah, and he's not defending fresh air. That's the important thing. He's defending where he needs to defend. If you find people, if they're not experienced that much in terms of being under pressure, they just start defending at every single corner and slowing each other down even more. We've got side by side in your AM class as well. Alistair Pollock and Adam Graveson, they're going side by side through Woodcut corner and across the old start and finish line in towards Cop's corner. So these two battling out for third place. Remember, Pollock is trying to recover his positions.
Yeah, but Grissom squeezes him out there slightly. Here comes Carl Chase to try and capitalize on a compromised run through Cop's corner for Pollock. He's going to try and respond, try and commit through Maggots and Beckett's, but is unable to. And in fact, the differing lines going in effect with these guys, as they all had a messed up entry in towards that fast section. It's just all compounds the mistakes down in towards there, but they all get themselves all sorted out line astern. You can see Pollock wiping the sweat from his brow. Hard work behind the wheel of these Porsches as we look back towards the front of Pro. Caruana, where is he going to get through here? He has time on his side though. 14.5 minutes is enough time to get this done. Looks big look towards the inside once again in towards Brooklands. Second attempt for Caruana. Second attempt unsuccessful. Eatwell washing up in the middle of the corner. Slightly bit of contact between the two. Jeffries looking for something on the inside there, but can't get the traction down from that angle.
Yeah, but Jeffries, he's seen that opportunity. 2 laps in a row now. He's had a look there when Eatwell has held that outside line. And you can use that line well through Brooklands. Outside line, carry the speed through there to then give you the inside into Luffield. And that just means that Caruana had to leave the door open to give the space, and that just gives Jack Jeffries that little bit of a temptation. There's a little devil on Jeffries' shoulder there going, go on. You can fit a Porsche through there. As more battle in your arms as well, with a recovering Christian Zaruta working his way through.
Yeah, Zaruta now on the correct set of tyres for the conditions, trying to make short work of the Anfield. But yeah, it's one to forget here for Zaruta. He's just looked forward towards race number 2. As down the inside goes the 13. That's Roy Weller on Cav Bud here at the back of the the AM order. And the 42 Stuart Rice also involved in this as well. So battles no matter where you look, up and down the field here. Front of Pro, bottom of AM, doesn't matter. There's still some fun stuff going on.
Certainly is. Great stuff all the way through the field, and this is what this series does bring you. It gives you great action all the way through. Back with Alistair Pollock through the last part of Beckett's complex, through Chapel and onto the Hangar Straight. This is his best opportunity though. He's got a great slipstream here. These Cayman cars, the GT4 machinery, don't have the biggest slipstream effect in them, but trying to go around the outside, not quite working for Alistair.
No, not quite either, as they're looking towards the Vale, at least to show the nose, but nothing more down into here, as they both try to make sure they don't lose track of Gravesend a little bit further down the road. That would be for P3 in class. So this they do have to be careful not to fight each other too much, otherwise they'll lose the opportunity at P3. But with 12 minutes to go, time of the essence here at the moment, and actually it was go back to the Pro order, because the front are fighting. The front who were fighting coming out of Cop's corner, and now they're in towards Maggots and Beckett. So I have to wonder what happened between these two. Jeffries has dropped off the back of them just slightly. We Eatwell and Caruana out of Chapel now. Caruana has a very good run. It's going to be an opportunity at least in towards Stowe corner. Defensive inside line being taken by the number 1. Caruana looking to try to commit around the outside here. Is there enough grip out there with the conditions? As across the nose goes Will Eatwell, and across into the grass as well. Caruana to the race lead, as Jeffries is fighting him for it. Jeffries, they almost make contact down in towards the Vale. Jeffries tried to smell blood in the water as Caruana tries to hold on to a P1, but this will be decided in the stewards room too.
Yeah, don't forget, any incidents that are protested will be looked at after the race, so post-event, so maybe not be a live decision, but certainly looked at afterwards if they feel that they need to. I'd love to see another look at that though, but Jeffries all over him. Almost making the move there. Caruana has seemed desperate to try and get to the front. He's not looked desperate when we've seen his onboard with his view, but here comes Jeffries now. He's trying to be the aggressor.
Well, he's actually pushing Caruana down in towards Brooklands there. Didn't necessarily want to have the opportunity down towards the inside there. On board with the roof cam of Jeffries. Caruana, is this just him out of rhythm, or does he have a little bit of damage potentially to the suspension when that car came across the front of him? I'm not too sure. The bodywork looks okay, at least on my view, but you can never know what hidden damage there is. As here's the replay of it from up above. You can see Caruana getting himself to the inside, and contact coming off. Not sure what to make of that.
It's a tricky one, is that, because the two lines are always going to converge there through the mid corner. The outside line and inside line, they'll converge. That inside line naturally wants to just drift out. Here we go from the onboard shot of Caruana. So he makes a very, very late lunge to the outside, tries to carry the speed around the outside. They're fighting, and then I think that's a racing instant as Jeffries to the front.
Yeah, Jeffries to the inside. He gets one over on Caruana. Caruana tries to respond, though, on the run down in towards the Vale. To the outside he goes, just because with the space out there. But it's Jack Jeffries, the number 10, that gets himself up into the race lead. The driver that has been third for the vast majority of this race, been nipping at the heels of Caruana, whereas Caruana was trying to fight Eatwell. Now he's the one that has to try and pull off the defense for the end of this race.
Do you ever get the feeling that Matt Caruana wants to go through the entire season as race winner? through each of the rounds. Well, it certainly feels like that with how desperate he's been. A little mistake from Jeffries there through the right-hander. That's going to open up the inside potentially. But, oh, they're not quite making the move. But that move from Caruana on Will Eatwell was started at Cop's corner. It ended at Stir. Here comes Caruana.
Caruana down the inside, dives it in. Does he get the car stopped? Yes, he does. Jeffries trying to think about a response coming off of Luffield now. They're very close, nose to bumper, coming through that right-hand hairpin. Now out on towards the old pit straight here. This one's still not done. They have shown the capability to pass each other in any configuration. And now we have 8 minutes of this to try and figure out who our winner of race one's going to be.
I think Luke Andrews is sat back there with the binoculars out going, come on lads, keep fighting. I'll get there. That these two are just on another level right now, and it's great to watch this. It's shades of that first week at Donington Park once again, and it's a delight to watch this. It's great to see two top drivers fighting it out on track, and it's certainly really good. Sit back and enjoy this one, folks. This one isn't over yet.
Absolutely not. Into Stoke corner they come. It's well, it was like the moment immediately after that incident. Jeffries was just like, I gotta go, 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 go. And he was able to inherit the race lead for a moment, but through the slow speed corners, it seems like Caruana's struggling. And Jeffries is able to catch up a little bit, but unfortunately for Jeffries, there are not that many slow speed corners here at this circuit.
Yeah, the opening sector, that's where you're going to be through the what I still reference as the new track. It's only been around since about 2010, so yeah, through the tight section at Village, and then the loop into Aintree. That's your slow speed stuff around Silverstone. Does it lose a little bit of the flow of the old track? Maybe.
Oh, Eatwell again.
No, it's Eatwell.
Can't catch a break, can he? Onto the circuit he comes, and he was trying to get himself past Ben Cooper, I believe that was, to try and get back inside the top 5, but wraps himself across the nose again. Meanwhile, with Ben Smith, he's looking down the inside right now as well of Ben Cooper, but unsuccessful in doing so. Gives him a little bit of a love tap, a push through Luffield, but Cooper will gap him on exit.
And it is October now, as Will Eatwell had a black cat cross his path or something. He's not having much luck in this race in the last 3 or 4 laps. It's certainly a character building, I think is what they say it is. There's the move then to the inside. It was a light lunge. It made a good move, but again, it's just the two cars converging on line, and, well, it's once again, oh, massive!
Whoa!
Massive action.
Whoa! That is absolutely huge. Nate Stock-Dickerson involved in it, along with a couple of others. Change for the race lead as well. Active battle for the race lead. Jack Jeffries has an opportunity on Matt Caruana once again. He'll have the inside for the first apex of the Vale. Caruana later on the brakes into here, but is it going to reward him with the defense of the place? We just don't know. He's going to be struggling on the inside there to try and get the traction going. Jeffries having to go ultra wide with the track limits coming out of Club Corner, but it's Jeffries back to the race lead now. This is crazy, crazy stuff. Major incident in AM and a massive fight for the lead in Pro.
I think we cut away at the right time then of that incident. Good grief, that was a massive one, and that rejoin, well, I can already feel and sense your skin crawling at that. Denise Pope, Wayne Basson, Nick Scott and Christian Chard, all with mechanical meatball warning flags. They were all involved in that incident, but here comes Caruana. He's coming back for the lead.
Yes, he is looking down the inside at Brooklands, but outside of Luffield, Jeffries trying his best to try and hold on here. Remember this being a battle in our first round of the season. It's the repeat of it. Jeffries looking to come out on top this time around. Caruana basically pushing him down the old pit straight. A look to the inside for Cop's corner. Matt Caruana decides against it. Goes back in line. Slight missed apex from Jeffries. This will give a run to Caruana in towards Maggots and Beckett. Does he commit to the move? Yes, he does. Inside for Beckett. Puts Jeffries offline. Caruana, can he find a way through? Commits to the outside for Beckett. No way through there either.
And look who's catching up to these two. Luke Andrews, I said he'd be looking and say, keep fighting, guys. Well, here he comes, does Luke. He's trying to make this a three-way fight for the lead. And already, look at that, Jack Jeffries trying to dictate where Caruana goes. That's a late move. Whoa.
Late move, but he's given the space by Jeffries. Jeffries will have the advantage coming off the corner here. Still a vulnerability down in towards the Vale. Caruana darting left, right, just trying to keep Jeffries on his toes. But Jeffries has been able to defend it so far. And look at that. You mentioned it, Paul. Andrews is involved in this now. Caruana can't afford to be as aggressive as he was because he leaves the door open to the car behind.
Yeah, and it's almost like what we had earlier on in the race. It's just that this time we've only got 2 laps remaining in this one. This is an absolute thriller up at the front of the field. I said it's shades of Donington Park between Jeffries and Caruana. We're getting it again, and it's fantastic.
Oh, both of these, well, I think Jeffries is struggling. Caruana might be struggling a little bit with because they're just taking so much out of the tires as they try to lean on each other coming through these corners as Caruana gets to the inside for Brooklands then. We've seen this battle side by side so many times, but it seems like if you can hang it around the outside of Brooklands and get to the inside for Luffield, you've got it. But Caruana, he's overcommitted the entry to Luffield here a little bit. Jeffries back down his inside now by mid-corner, coming off the corner, they're level, but the drive goes to Caruana. He'll slip his way ahead through Woodcut, but this isn't done, everyone. This is not done at all. 1 minute 30 left to go as they head their way through Cobbs, and Jeffries actually had to get out of it there.
Well, this is incredible, unbelievable stuff, and it's inches between them. It's tremendous. Oh, Jeffries just looking into Beckett's there through Maggots and Beckett's. And this is all about setting up the car in front. You've got to try and force them offline into Maggots and Beckett's because that then exacerbates itself all the way through that section of the track and down the Hangar Straight. He's not quite done it this time. He's not quite close enough to make a move as Jeffries. But with 1 lap remaining at the line, anything could happen yet.
They've swapped so many times over the last 10 to 15 minutes. Battles going on in behind as well as Smith and Cooper decide to fight it out, but an instant back there as Smith out in towards the runoff area has to rejoin the circuit as we start the final lap then. Caruana leads by almost half a second now. That's a pretty good leverage that he'll be able to build off of now. Can Jeffries catch him by the end of this lap? There's a bit of lap traffic up ahead as well. That's Nick Scott in the 25 Cayman. This is going to be very, very interesting to see how they negotiate and see how he factors in or not into this battle. 7 seconds left on the clock as they head their way on towards the Wellington Straight for the final time. They'll catch the lap traffic in about the right place for Caruana. Is it going to be the right place for Jeffries as well? It's going to be a bit of a struggle. Car occupies the inside. Compromise line from Jeffries. Just the worst timing ever as he tries to get through there as Andrews is also able to slip through, but it looks like that might be the thing that has just saved Caruana.
I tell you what, I've tacked worse than that GT4, but yeah, it's in a bad state, and it's amazing that he's able to keep it going. But Caruana, this last lap has just really turned up the wick here, and he's really pushing on for the end of this race. And he's got, in my opinion, too big a gap to be caught. It's going to take a mistake for that to happen, but what a tremendous race that we've seen here at the front. Not without its drama and its controversy. Don't forget the incident between Caruana and Will Eatwell at Stowe Corner, but what a drive.
Just one more sector to go for Caruana, and you'll be able to take another race win, but it wasn't with its dramas. And of course, there's a stewards review going to be going on after this race with the incident with Will Eatwell as well. So as they head their way through, Stowe for the final time, in towards the Vale for the final time in this first race, believe it or not, we got another one coming up after this one. Caruana through there, Caruana through Club Corner, and Caruana race winner in Pro yet again. A sigh of relief from Matt, as he's got to be thinking, will I keep that? Will the stewards give me a time penalty?
Yeah, we'll have to leave that to the stewards. I mean, like I say, they may just think it's a racing incident. Me personally, I think that incident with Will Eatwell was a racing incident. I think he'll be the first one to apologise, will Matt? But yeah, it looked like a racing incident to me. The racing isn't over yet because you've still got Aiden Carter leading that one by about 3 seconds over Mike Pierce, Adam Greaveson and Carl Chase. But it's Greaveson and Chase that are close for that final podium position. Here's what happened to Ben Smith at Stowe Corner. Around the inside, he gets the run, and again, it just drifts out, and it's the tiniest of contact. The car is really loaded up at that point through that right-hander.
Mirror image between the Caruana and Jeffries incident there. You can superimpose them on top of each other and they probably look absolutely identical. But the Caymans just coming towards the end of their race now. Eden Carter's already coming down the hangar straight with a 3.5 second advantage over Mike Pierce. There's a few question marks in behind, as you know, any potential mistake might change the order back here. But there is the number 43 car. Eden Carter heading his way in towards Vale for the final time in this race to take another race win for Carter. A brilliant performance so far this season, pretty much untouchable in the Caymans. Across the line he comes here at Silverstone to take the race 1 win.
Yeah, really good job from Aiden. He was put under some pressure to start with, but he's come out on top yet again, and he's showing why he is up there at the front of but great stuff all the way through the field. Here's that big incident then in GT4. It's Nick Scott defending Carter inside, and that oh Nick, I'm sorry, as Denise Pope is the completely innocent party and all of that, that was not the best defensive move. And then oh dear, that's not the best, and that's even worse.
It's a good job I'm not a steward, is it? Because I would be particularly harsh on the rejoins. And actually, anyone who rejoins poorly is disqualified as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, my stewarding decisions aside, here are the unofficial race results from race 1, as Matt Caruana takes the race win by 1.1 seconds over Jack Jeffries after an absolutely titanic battle indeed between the two of them. It was crazy, crazy stuff. It's a shame. Well, Jack Jeffries will be kicking himself because, you know, lap traffic getting involved in the last lap there, not having the greatest penultimate lap either, has really robbed him of an opportunity to try and take the race win here on the last lap. But Luke Andrews, though, I mean, he had the best view in the house, pretty much. 3rd place, the final step on the podium, and a good starting spot for race 2 as well. Ed Hope in P4 with Will Eatwell in P5. It'll be interesting to see how Will can recover from P5 in our second race here today. Ben Cooper P6 with Dave Martin P7, George Tyler 8th, William Hope in P9, and Matthew Crisp in P10. The rest of the runners in Pro, it's Ben Smith in 11th with Glenn Humberston in 12th, Christian Saruta P13 after that wet tyre gamble at the very start of the race. Then you got one lap down or more, Cody Cosford and James Armstrong. Then you've got Aiden Carter taking the race win once again. I wonder how many times we're going to say that over the next couple of races this season. Fantastic stuff. 4.2 seconds over Mike Pierce. Then you got Adam Graveson in P3. Carl Chase P4, Valster Pollock P5, Roy Weller P6 with Cav Bud in 7th, Stuart Rice in 8th, Nick Stott Dickerson in P9, and Wayne Basson in P10. And the last couple of runners, well, those involved in that big incident. Denise Pope, innocent bystander, very unfortunate to be involved in that incident. And of course, Chris Shard down in P12 as well. So there we go. That's was a crazy race one. I mean, races at Silverstone tend to be pretty good, don't they? It's that's what I get the feeling, especially in these Porsche machines. It's fantastic the amount of chances that these guys get to try and get themselves alongside each other. It's really what we all want as both commentators and spectators.
I said, didn't I, right at the start, that these Porsches, Silverstone always delivers here, and it's delivered it in buckets fulls here in this opening race of the night. And the best thing is we've got another race yet to come as well. What conditions we get, we don't know. It's all up to the series admins to that. But yeah, certainly tremendous race. I do think, as I mentioned, that I think that incident between Eatwell and Caruana, I think that would go down as a racing incident. It's nobody, as a majority to blame in that one, in my opinion. But of course, I'm not a steward. I'm just here for my opinions. Not so much for my good looks, but for the opinions nonetheless.
I don't know. I'm here for the good looks. Anyway, no, it's fine. But yeah, I think you're right. It's definitely more on the side of racing incident for me as well. It's just one of those unfortunate ones where you've got the driver on the outside trying to keep their line as tight as they can while still giving space to make sure they're not compromising that line too much, and then the car on the inside not having the room to push out a little bit to try and make the track exit. It's a very, very awkward one, and again, when the margins are that thin, sometimes that sort of thing happens. One party benefits more out of the other than the other. That's just the unfortunate run of it. But we'll see what the stewards say after proceedings here today. We won't get an immediate response on that. It'll be done after the event has concluded. So we'll, if there is any massive changes there, we'll notify you at the start of the next broadcast. But well, before we get to that, we do have to have a race too, don't we, Paul? As like you said, conditions we don't know at the moment. They're trying to get the server sorted out and the race session put up. I mean, I'm guessing everyone's just kind of looking forward to Jeffries and Caruana Part 2, right?
Oh, I am. Absolutely.
Well, Part 3 now, as it is.
It was. I mean, we had the tremendous race at Donington. We've now had this one between the two of them. Yeah. We've spoken to Jeffries after a few of these races in these broadcasts, and like last week, had a poor qualifying, was able to get onto the podium for both races. Here today, good qualifying, was able to finish where he started. Caruana, who made up those 4 places, he did not have a good qualifying at all, did Matt? And those mixed conditions, those damp conditions, really did catch him out a little bit there. I think Will Eatwell will be gutted. I think he'll look back at it and say, oh, yeah, it's one of those. But he will be gutted that an opportunity of a race win has gone away from him. Yeah, absolutely. He starts 5th in the second race. Just so happens to be exactly where Matt Caruana started for this first race. So if Caruana can do it, Will Eatwell's got to be saying, well, I have to do it now. Absolutely, and he's got every opportunity to do so as well. It's been certainly still an effort for him. Absolutely, we can have a little bit of a conversation with those further down the field. Of course, Tsuruta, we had that gamble with the wet tyres at the start. Didn't work out, although he was making good progress in the early stages, just got himself involved in a bit of an incident there and ended up further down the field. So we didn't quite see how that it would be included with the pit stop. I wouldn't say it would have been that much better. But for him, of course, it's sort of a bit of a last to first challenge in this second race. Well, not quite last, because he's got 2 retirements starting behind him. But I'll be very interested to see how Tsuruta gets his way through this field, because it does look very competitive, but at the same time, lots of opportunities here at Silverstone. Chris, he's been a funny one in this season, I must say. He's not had the best of luck. Given that Donington, the first round of the championship, he missed out the first race, and then wasn't able to progress through the field that I thought he would do. Snetterton last week, he was, there good results. That he just seems to be just not quite at the pace of everybody else here in this series, and I thought I was actually expecting them to be a little bit more challenging up towards the front, personally, from other series that I've seen him racing. So he's got plenty of experience in these Porsches as well. I thought there was going to be a little bit more from Christian.
Yeah, just a bit. And we can have a little bit of attention on Am as well, because, of course, Carter waltzing away at the front of the field as he tends to do. But everyone else, Mike Pierce, Adam Greaveson, Alistair Pollock, everyone else sort of second on back seems quite evenly matched.
Well, you say that Carter waltzed away. It wasn't that big a gap, was it? It was 3 seconds in the end. It wasn't a massive gap. And don't forget that Pollock was leading Am on that opening lap until he had that incident with James Armstrong. So, Pollock's shown that he's got pace around here. We're seeing that here today. So it could be that Alistair can get himself up onto the top step of the podium.
Yeah, I think so too. He's looking particularly strong here, and a strength that we haven't quite seen at some of the other circuits. So I don't know whether this is his favourite circuit or if he's put in a lot of work for this race today. But either way, the effort seems to be paying off. Of course, we didn't quite see it in terms of the positions in that race because it was quite a competitive sort of podium positions. But definitely a P2 at least could be a possibility for Pollock. Although Pierce has been up there fighting. Graveson is looking particularly aggressive today as well. So really, you can just sort of use a random number generator and try and figure out who's going to become in P2, 3, 4, because those three are very close.
Yeah, it's incredibly close match between the three of those. Yeah, as you say, the second and third places in Am at the moment in the championship, it's wide open as to who gets those. And don't forget, everybody watching at home, the prizes are for the top 3 of each class to get that half-day experience at the Porsche Experience Centre just off the hangar straight at Silverstone. You can literally see it from the track, from the track as you're going down the hangar straight. You see the building on your left. So yeah, it's a tremendous opportunity for a few of these drivers to get themselves into that top 3. Pro, I think you're a little bit more settled with who the top 3 are, but we're at the halfway point of the season. We've still got half the season to go yet, starting with this race, so anything could happen.
Absolutely. We've got our second session loaded in, and I can give you the news that there's going to be no wet weather or no dampness at all for the second race here today. Completely bone dry. A little cold in terms of the air temp, but but still remains actually very windy. The track temp itself has obviously climbed since race number 1. We are a little bit more in towards the afternoon, and of course the track hasn't been damp this entire time, so it does mean that it can climb a little bit, but not too high whatsoever. Remember, we're still in the early April in sim time for these races, so it's still the set of conditions that you would expect then. But yeah, dry race. Let's see how the things stack up in somewhat normal conditions then for these guys.
What you will find with these cars, especially with the Cup cars in Pro, they will be having to manage the tyres just that little bit in this race. With it being dry and with it being a track with so many medium and high speed corners, that you're really going to be putting a lot of force through those tyres, especially the left-hand tyres around here. And one thing I did discover with these Cup cars from when I did a commentary at Monza last year is speaking to a lot of the teams around that track where, again, you've got a lot of medium to high-speed corners which stress the left-hand tyres. With it being a rear-engined car, it's actually that rear left that takes the real hammering. You'd think it'd be the front, but it's the rear left that really takes that hammering, and they'll be putting a lot of stress through those tyres. So expect the times to just drop off a little bit towards the end of this 30-minute race. You might think, well, it's only 30 minutes. Yeah, but you'll still get that tyre drop off towards the end of the race.
It's also 30 minutes of some quite intense racing. It's not like so it's quite different driving compared to how you would drive in an hour-long endurance stint, right? Where you want to make the tires last until the very end. If you're going out there 110% from the get-go, then they can drop off rather quickly. But we got a couple of minutes left here in practice, just for the drivers to get themselves acclimatized to the conditions out there. Of course, at the start of race number 1, we had very damp and actually lightly wet was the official word from iRacing at the start of the session. But bone dry here at the moment, and will continue to do so as well, according to the forecast in Sim. But yeah, this is going to be interesting. Of course, we've got the race start to contend with between Caruana and Jeffries. Caruana, though, has had some particularly good starts so far this season, so that one is going to be tough to get an upper hand over him for Jeffries if he wants to try and make this one competitive. I feel like he needs to try and get a monster start and get ahead early, and then just cause Caruana problems.
I mean, don't put it past Jeffries to be able to put in a good start here. You can get it if you get it hooked up and in the sweet spot for getting that launch, then it's certainly you can really gain some good ground and good speed and that. So certainly Caruana will be looking for a good solid start, but so too will Jeffries. He'll want to try and get him off the line, but it's so easy with these cars, these cup cars, to basically overload the clutch, and you end up just sitting there going nowhere fast and wondering why you've got an extremely expensive car showroom going past you.
Yeah, and actually there's been some cases over a couple of races already where the front Caymans actually get a better start than the rear 911s, and actually are a little bit faster off the line than them, which can cause issues back there. It's the 911 Cups are very, very tricky to get started and get going off of the line, and even the pro drivers that use them in the Esports Super Cup, they also tend to sometimes have issues there. But as we get ourselves swapped over in towards the race session, then our starting grid will be based on the results from race number 1, so we'll go through them rather quickly. It's Matt Caruana taking pole position here from Jack Jeffries. Then you got Luke Andrews and Edward Hope as your first 2 rows on your starting grid. Then you got Will Eatwell and Ben Cooper. Dave Martin and George Tyler will round out the next couple of positions, with William Hope, Matthew Chris, Ben Smith and Glenn Humberstone rounding out the top 12. Further back in the pro, you got Christian Struter and Cody Cosford. Then you go in towards your AMs. Aidan Carter's pole position there with Mike Pierce, Adam Graveson, Carl Chase. And then further back, you got Alistair Pollock, Roy Weller, Cav Budd, Nick Scott Dickerson, Wayne Basson and Denise Pope rounding out the 24 cars overall, and Chris Chard will be the 25th. So dry conditions this time around. Still got to be careful with those cold tyres on the opening couple of laps here. We're about to get going for the second time here at Silverstone in the Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge Great Britain. Matt Caruana from pole position this time instead of 5th place. Jack Jeffries also on that pro front row as well. We're about to get the green lights here at Silverstone once again, and they'll be charging down in towards turn number 1. It is a good start actually from Jeffries as he tries to challenge Caruana pretty much immediately. Caruana coming across to try and block him off there down the inside as they all get stacked up through turn number 1 in towards the first heavy braking zone of the lap, though going to be spread out 2 by 2 by 2 in the pro order. Caruana still holding strong at the very front of the order. Luke Andrews trying to defend from Will Eatwell, who's gained positions well on the start here, and he gets towards the inside of your 3rd place sitter Luke Andrews. Jeffries trying to apply the pressure to Caruana once again, and he's going to have an opportunity potentially in towards Brooklands here on the first lap. Jeffries down towards the inside then. Caruana gives him the space here on this opening lap. Jack Jeffries to the race lead in the early stages. Is there a response from Caruana? Yes, there is. Around the outside at Luffield, AMS are having their race start as well as they're 2 by 2 coming through this section. Crazy stuff. Aidan Carter versus Mike Pierce for the race lead in AM, as that's a very, very interesting predicament. Mike Pierce trying to go for gold.
Yeah, this is great stuff all the way through the field, and yeah, those AMs are certainly putting up a great display. Caruana on the left-hand side of your screen putting the pressure on Jeffries at the front of the field. I just get the feeling that Caruana allowed Jeffries to make that move. I think maybe he's thinking long game and thinking, well, let's not fight too hard now. Let's just push on and try and get the race towards the end. So just stick with Jeffries, look at them all. And a big queue of Porsches. There goes Caruana to the inside.
Fighting already as we have a repeat of the end of race 1 here, the start of race 2. Jeffries and Caruana side by side down in towards the Vale as Caruana tried to come across, then backed out of it because it realized the space was occupied by Jeffries. Here comes Andrews then around the outside. Oh, they're leading on each other coming through there. Andrews almost loses control. He'll slide back. Edward Hope is able to get himself through by the start-finish line there.
Oh, that's tremendous from Edward Hope there. Big moment. That's Luke Andrews. Fortunately, stays out the wall there. It's a big run off there. Abby, oh my goodness, that's a dive and a half there from William Hope on Will Eatwell. And Eatwell just says, okay, mate, you have it. I'll take it back to the next corner. But certainly Edward Hope took advantage of the situation. Made a really good move and finds himself in 3rd place.
Absolutely, and Will Eatwell now trying to go down the inside of Edward Hope. So the two Hopes both in pretty good positions here at this moment in time, but Will Eatwell looks like he has a ton of performance underneath him around the outside at Luffield as Ed Hope tries to come back at him down his inside, but Eatwell gets the traction off the corner, gets the speed, and able to hold the advantage in towards Cobb's corner. Meanwhile, the two ahead are stuck together like glue.
Yeah, we're picking up from race 1, aren't we?
Yeah.
These two absolutely nose to tail, neck and neck, in through Maggots and Beckett's. Here's what happened earlier on. Oh, there was a bit further down, instant for Ben Cooper, so he has to do a recovery drive there for him. This is what happened to Andrews. Just tagged the back of the car in front of him, loses control. It unsettled the car with that contact, front to rear contact, and Andrews ends off into the kitty litter. Meanwhile, Aiden Carter is under intense pressure from, no, it's Mike Pierce under pressure from Carl Chase as the race lead carries on in Pro.
Yeah, they're spending more time side by side than they are in a single file line here at the moment. It feels like these two. This is crazy stuff. Slight missed apex there from Jeffries, but it's covered off somewhat because Caruana had a bit of a compromised line coming through that final sector. And meanwhile, further behind, you have that battle between Chase and Pierce on the way down in towards the Vale as well as, hot into that was Graveson as things hot at the very front of Pro. Things off for second on back in Am. This is fantastic stuff. We're continuing as we left off. Caruana down the inside of Jeffries again through the first sector here. In through the left-hander here at the loop, and Jeffries able to hold the advantage there. But look at what this has done. It's just stacked up the pro field behind them. And Will Eatwell, starting from 5th, is now in a position where you can see the front two going side by side right through his windshield. And Caruana's not giving this one up whatsoever. He wants to try and get to the race lead and stretch his legs. Gets to the race lead now through Luffield, but look at it, he's just completely compromised his line through Luffield, and Jeffries is able to nip back underneath. Yeah,
but Caruana gets the run out of Luffield. That's the thing, taking that wider line through Luffield, get on the power nice and early there. In towards Cop's corner, it is Caruana who leads, but Will Eatwell, he can afford to be patient and wait for an opportunity to come. There's still 24.5 minutes left, so plenty of time in this one for things to sort themselves out. But Eatwell, he's looked quick all this week, and certainly it'd be great to see him challenging for the lead as well.
Mike Pierce and Carl Chase going at it wheel to wheel down in Am as well, as Chase is going to lose out there. Not only to Pierce, but also to Adam Graveson. So Graveson through and up in towards P3 in class there. As we kind of have to just almost keep this split screen permanently at this point, because this is where all the battles are going to be happening. Caruana leading now by 2/10 on the way down in towards the Vale, but I'm very, very interested, Paul, in what Will Eatwell decides to do here, because we saw his strategy in the open, well, in sort of the midpoint of race number 1 when he was in this situation at the front trying to go for the race lead. What does he do from P3, considering Jeffries is trying to nip at Caruana's heels constantly, and they're more than willing to make it side by side?
Well, as I said, he can afford to be patient and pick up opportunities when they arise, because with the way that these two, Jeffries and Caruana, are fighting it out at the front, it means that he will get opportunities. Will Eatwell and Edward Hope as well. We saw how Edward Hope was the ever the opportunist. There goes Jeffries inside of Brooklands and takes the lead, but Caruana's trying that cutback. And look at this, Caruana is leaving the inside open. Hope, Eatwell has got that opportunity there to get a nose inside. Not quite enough though, but Jeffries back to the front.
Fantastic racing. Jeffries not quite got the run down in towards Cobbs, and actually Caruana backs out of it, causes Eatwell to also back out of it. So a bunch of lifting going on down just before the entry point in towards Cobbs' corner. And Ed Hope is just sort of weaving in behind this one, because I don't think he can believe that he's in this situation right now where he has the top 3 directly ahead of him, and they're all fighting, and he's keeping on pace with them because of the fighting.
And they're bringing William Hope and Christian Zaruta into this. Great drive from
Zaruta out of nowhere.
7th places gained for Christian. So I said that he's got experience in these cars. He knows how to pedal them. It's just that he's not had the best of seasons so far as these drivers come through. But I mean, this almost feels like a sort of a NASCAR race almost, with how close the pack is and how the lead keeps on changing lap after lap.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff indeed. Fighting in the background, though, between Matthew Crisp and Dave Martin. So, pro category, a bunch of surprises here for the moment. As you can see the AM battle going on in the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Caruana has a run through Abbey there, but again, can't really do anything with it on the way down into the next braking zone. It's just, yeah, it's a very, very interesting dynamic between these two.
Do you know who's got the fastest lap in this race as well? It's Andrews. Luke Andrews in 13 laps. He's got the fastest lap of the race. That just shows how much this battling is slowing down these drivers at the front of the field, and it's just allowing the field to queue up behind them. Great stuff for us to watch. Absolutely. This makes our life the easiest job in the world.
Oh no!
Oh no, that's Greaveson getting turned around. That's going in towards the loop. So Adam Greaveson, big dramas for him. He goes and goes spinning around like Kylie.
Yeah, Carl Chase into the back there, and actually Carl Chase also loses position to Alistair Pollock there. So Pollock up in towards 3rd place in AM out of all of that, and Roy Weller even getting the position on Chase as well. Let's see exactly what happened coming off the corner. Just a bit of a lazy incident.
Yeah, again, just getting caught.
Yeah.
Just the tiniest of contact, front to rear, and that's what caused that one to go around. Now, the front 4, I think because they've not been, well, I was about to say because they've not been getting a little bit of a breakaway, but there goes Caruana to the inside, and Jeffries is saying, now I've seen what you've done in the past with that move. As now Caruana into the Vale makes the move, but Jeffries inside of club, but Caruana gets the cutback, and here comes the rest of them.
Side by side through the final corner. I have to wonder how many 1Xs that they're both getting at the moment by extending the track limits by this much. They're picking them up so early on in this race. Side by side in towards Abbey here. Here comes Will Eatwell. Gets past Jeffries and might have a chance in towards on Caruana in towards Village. Caruana with the defensive line. Edward Hope also picks up the position on Jeffries as well. So that has not been a fantastic sequence of corners for Jeffries as he goes from B1 at the start of this lap as they headed their way across the timing beam down towards P4.
It's not the end of the world though for Jack. You know, he's still there in this group. He's still fighting as side by side up at the front of Am, side by side at the front of Pro. You got to have eyes in the back of your head here to be able to see what's going on. Eatwell, great move inside of Brooklands, outside of Luffield. Can he hold it around the outside of Woodcut?
Oh, this would be great, going from third to first inside of 1 lap here for Eatwell. It's inside for Caruana. Caruana backs out. He completely backs out of it, coming in towards Cop's corner. Didn't want to take the risk. Knows he has the pace, and actually he has a run coming out of Cop's here as well to be able to utilize. But no, he'll just stay in behind for now. Will Eatwell, new race leader here from 5th place on the starting grid. I said that's exactly where Caruana started in race number 1. Will Eatwell needs to do the repeat, and he has.
He certainly has, but he's got to hold on to it now as Carl Chase and Christian Chard are continuing their fight. Wayne Basson and Cav Budd are involved in that one as well. Yeah, certainly. It's been a tremendous race again. Motorsport UK Esports saying they don't know how they can handle 18 more minutes of this. I can. It's fantastic. Oh, Jeffries is around.
He is around through the veil. Everyone else behind picks up a position. Didn't quite see exactly what happened there. Don't know if it was contact or an awkward hop over a curb.
It was a concertina effect. It was a concertina effect into that braking zone. It's a very slow, and it just takes one person to maybe just brake just that little bit extra, and it just acts as a big shockwave down the queue. And here we go. Here's a look from above. So Caruana gets, so he's almost gone into the back of Will Eatwell. He's had to get on the brakes a bit more, and well, unfortunately, Jack Jeffries is the one who comes off the worst.
Battling down the field here in the AM category as well. Down the inside, big move. Cav Budd able to sort of come off the best in that, as it was Denise Hope with the hopeful move down the inside, but not successful, as she'll have to rejoin the circuit. Yeah, it's interesting to see those AM battles still going on while we're having the Frights in Pro try to sort themselves out as well. Here's a little bit of a replay down towards the inside, and yeah, it's doors always kind of gonna be shut in your face there.
But she was alongside to a degree as well, though. But I think it was a bit of a prayer there from Pope, and that means that it's a little bit, just a little bit too late, not quite fully alongside. And that just means contact is made, unsettles the car, and around the gun. Look at the front two now. Eatwell and Caruana are making a breakaway from the two Hopes. Indeed they are. And I have another 16 minutes of dealing with your puns as well, Paul. But at the moment, well, I mean, you described it quite factually. There's now a 1.5 second gap between Caruana and Edward Hope at the moment, so a definite split inside the top grouping of cars here in the Pro order. Eatwell trying to gap Caruana here, and actually pretty successful in doing so. Fastest lap being set across the line. Less than a tenth of a second difference between the two of them, though. So yeah, Caruana just showing his nose there a little bit going into the braking zone into Village, but certainly he's not giving this one up yet. But as I said earlier in the race, you've got to do an element of tyre preservation here at this track to get the most out of the car for the full race. And what we're seeing right now is maybe these two have looked after the tyres. You wouldn't believe it with Caruana, with how hard he's been fighting with Jeffries earlier on in this race. And now he's got to do it all again with Eatwell. Exactly. So fantastic stuff at the front of the order. It's just a shame that Caruana doesn't have his sponsors on that car, because he's been front and center of all the action pretty much all day. But either way, both of them setting the time and screen delight here at the moment, just getting that gap over the two Hopes behind. And hopefully that's going to be able to have them a little bit of a space established to be able to have a bit of a fight without having third, fourth, fifth parties trying to get themselves involved, like it has been for the vast majority of the start of this race. Yeah, if anything now, you two at the front, not for our benefit, but for their benefit, they need to just almost work together a little bit, not fight too hard, get that gap so that then when it gets towards the end of the race, you're able to then go hell for leather and to be able to fight tooth and nail and not have to worry about those other cars coming into it. We saw how Luke Andrews in that first race, how he got involved because of fighting.
Saruta?
Yeah, this is what these two need to work together. Chrissy Saruta, yeah, you mentioned he's had issues down at the Vale and Club.
Oh, just a bit of a contact with another car down in towards the first apex there. Again, it's one of those hot spots for contact, isn't it? Down in towards the Vale, as there's fighting going on here between Saruta and Cosford, as Saruta is trying to recover from that incident that we just saw on the replay, and he's able to keep himself ahead of Cosford here at the moment. But yeah, it's been a very, very tough day for the driver of the number 2, as it was looking positive at one point, wasn't it, for Saruta? He was getting himself up towards the top 5, but unfortunately for him, his luck seems to not have sorted itself out here for race 2.
He is still up 4 places though on this race, so Christian, you know, he is moving forward in this race. You've got to keep that in mind. I think he's having a couple of issues with his internet though. Cody Cosford as well is having a couple of issues out there with his internet connection as well. Further down, class, and it's still Carl Chase and Chris Chard. You can't separate these two. You really can't all through this race, and they're continuing their never-ending battle. I will say just has seemed to have spread out quite a bit in this race, yeah, it certainly has spread that field out quite a bit.
Yeah, we've got a pretty normal looking gap between Carter and Pierce now, haven't we? As Carter has got himself a habit of trying to pull the gaps in these sorts of races. Not so much last race, it was looking much more competitive in race 1, but when it's dry conditions and he's able to be comfortable, Eden Carter is definitely the one to beat as far as the Caymans are concerned, and I don't really think at this point anyone's going to be on his level. Fastest lap across the line being set by Matt Caruana, however, second place in the pro order. He continues to try and to chase down the number 1 car, as it's essentially a 2-horse race at the front of pro now.
Well, Eatwell did set a faster lap, it was just that he invalidated it by going off track. But these two, very little separating them. Eatwell, don't forget, did do very well in qualifying, and that mixed condition seemed to suit his driving around here in qualifying, but in the races, Caruana seems to be on another level right now, and he's trying his best, but Eatwell's doing the right job. He's not defending on every corner, he's just placing the car to make it extremely difficult, although running a little bit wide onto the gravel on the exit of Luffield, not going to be the best for his run down towards Copse Corner.
A show of the nose again in towards Copse that Caruana won't go for. I think he's been a little bit more timid with those moves in towards Copse, at least in this race. I mean, when Eatwell initially got himself all the way through to the race lead, it was because Caruana actually completely backed out of making it side-by-side into Copse. So he knows how dangerous that portion of the circuit can be. Don't get me wrong, it's going to be an opportunity. If there's an opportunity into there or in towards one of the final laps, then he'll definitely take it. But I think he felt it was a little bit too early to be making a move, but not too early to be making a move down in towards Stowe, however. Caruana diving down the inside there. Is there a response coming off the corner from Eatwell? Bit of a slide there from Caruana. Didn't quite get the traction down in the right way, but he's got the move done. He's up into the race lead now.
You think Will Eatwell had a little bit of PTSD then? Corner and thought, do you know what, let's back out of that one. He did clip the curb on the inside of the first apex of Club, and Eatwell, that unsettles the car. It's quite a high aggressive sausage curb. Not the biggest fan of sausage curbs, if anybody's ever heard my commentaries in the past. So sausages don't belong on the track; they belong on the plate. But as they go through into the loop and well, can't panic. This is the thing. He mustn't panic now. He just needs to focus up, keep with Caruana, and try and take advantage of any error. Force an error if you can out of Caruana.
Take a page out of Jeffrey's book in race number 1. Just harass him, get all over that back bumper, look for moves in places where you don't typically look, try to unsettle him. That seemed to be the strategy that Jeffries was going for, and well, he was quite successful in some instances. Of course, didn't get the opportunity to do so at the very end of race number 1, but that's the pattern that we were seeing in the laps leading up to it, in and amongst that battle. But Caruana holding on for now. Eatwell, he has to try and be looking for this good run through Maggots and Beckett's to have that chance in towards Stowe. Of course, there was a lot of the swap arounds between Jeffries and Caruana actually happened in towards Brooklands, didn't they? And in towards that Luffield section. So maybe he has to be looking there for some progress.
Two hopes are still together, and well, Jeffries 7th place right now. Got Dave Martin right in front. We've not really talked about Dave much in these races. He's just been quietly going about his business here. He's up 1 place from where he started, so yeah, he's certainly having to go defensive though on Jack Jeffries. Around the outside for Jack, and he should get that move completed into the Vale.
Should, but does he? As inside there, and gets through for Jeffries. So up in towards P6 for the driver of the number 10. Of course, he was been hoping for so much more in this race, considering where he started. Battle at the very back of AM. This is Wayne Basson and Denise Pope here. At the very front of shot, there's Nick Scott in the bright yellow Cayman as well, but Battle's position is just inside/outside of the top 10 here in the AM category.
Yeah, and as we keep showing throughout these broadcasts here on the Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge Great Britain, excitement all the way through the field. It's not just at the front, where it seems to have calmed down a little bit right now, he says. But certainly business could pick up at any time, but even now, all the way through the field, you've got this Basson and Pope fighting over the penultimate place in AM that Basson is currently in. So don't say that the positions don't matter.
I'm more interested in the battle between the two Hopes and Crispy at the moment, as Denise will go side by side with Basson. Wayne Basson on the way down in towards Stowe Corner, and Pope is able to pick up that position in quite a comfortable fashion. So Pope up in towards 10th place in the AM category. But there's the battle I was talking about, the two Hopes and Matthew Crisp. Crisp has been on the back of these guys for the last couple of moments, and look at how close he is coming through Chapel. I think Ed Hope might be vulnerable to an attack here in towards Stowe Corner as Crisp darts out of line, tries to draw himself alongside down the inside here at this very fast right-hander. Let's see if Ed's able to hold on the outside there. Got to be careful with coming together, coming off the exit. Almost a repeat of the incident we had in race 1, and well, many incidents we had in race 1. Banging doors down in towards the Vale there. Hope is able to, the Ed Hope is able to hold on. I like how we have to try and differentiate between the two now, since they're so close on circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. One's got the yellow stripe down the car as well to help us. Don't ask me which one it is. I has the yellow stripe. Oh, it's Edward. There you go. The luminous yellow stripe down the car. But yeah, Crisp is putting the pressure on now, and that may well be that William and Edward have pushed their tyres just that little bit more, and are finding out now as we're heading to that final 5 minutes. This is the point where anyone who has pushed those tyres a bit more will be starting to feel the pressure from those who have looked after themselves throughout this race, as Roy Weller, Carl Chase, and also Christian Chard, both fighting it out. And who was that at a standstill then? That was Zaruta.
Yeah, I'm seeing Zaruta drop down my timing screen as we're continuing to watch Matthew Crisp trying to harass the back of Edward Hope, but he's got to be a bit concerned looking in his wing mirrors because Jack Jeffries is there on the bit of a recovery drive, tried to get himself up inside the top 5. There's Christian Chard and Roy Weller going wheel to wheel through Stowe corner. Chard on the outside will get the drive off and will get the upper hand on the way down in towards the Vale chicane. He's got to be careful not to outbrake himself there, but it looks like everything is okay, and Weller's not able to try and get himself back through. This is what happened to Christian Saruta then. Oh, careful, cars behind having to try and avoid the half-spun Christian Saruta.
And I think that actually took Ben Smith over the instant limit because he's got a black flag now. He seemed to get that at the same time that Zaruta had his issue. So there's a dive to the inside at Stowe from Crisp. No move being completed though. Jack Jeffries now will be looking at these going, I've got a potential podium here, but there's 3 very, very intense and hard charging drivers in front of me.
Absolutely, and they're not wanting to give up the positions without a fight, that's for sure. So this is going to be a tough ask for Jeffries. No matter how fast he is in clear air, it's going to be a struggle to try and get through on these guys, that's for sure. Especially with Matthew Crisp eagerly wanting to gain positions rather than lose them. It's going to be a tricky predicament for everyone involved here. Crisp, big lunge down the inside of Village. Contact between the two. Jeffries trying to get to the outside, is unsuccessful there. Through the loop now, nose to tail between all of them, and our normal service resumes.
I think Matthew Crisp must have been pressing everything at once to try and get that car stopped because his windscreen wipers suddenly started going. So, yeah, he was desperate not to make contact there, and fortunately no contact made between them. But Jeffries had to get out of it with that one, and he'll have it all to do again. There's 2 minutes on the clock. I think we'll only get one more lap in this race at the line.
All depends on where Caruana is out there on sick. He's just coming out of Cops now with Will Eatwell about 5/10 of a second behind here. So that battle close, but not as close as we've seen it at points over the course of the 2 races that we've had here today. And it seems like Caruana has just had that little bit of an edge over his closest competitors, both Jeffries and Eatwell, in this situation. But further back, of course, we still got this undecided battle for P3, 4, 5, and 6 in the pro order. And also, we got an undecided battle for P5 in AM as well that we might have to pay attention to at some point as well. But on board, as we head our way down in towards Stowe Corner, this is on board with Jack Jeffries as, well, his task. First task, get inside the top 5. Second task, get inside the top 3. Can that all be done in a minute plus a lap?
It's a tall order, is that, with the drivers that are in front. We've seen how both William and Edward Hope have been really staunch defenders of their positions. And I bet William will be there saying to Edward, come on, do me a favour. Be rear gunner, let me get a podium here for us. We'll do it as a team. As Caruana just set another fastest lap of the race. So Will Eatwell's got it all to do in this final lap of the race. But yeah, definitely these 4 incredibly close. Jeffries, it's going to be more and more difficult as the lap goes on.
Yeah, I think so too. Unless there's an obvious opportunity in towards Brooklands, which is a place where it's possible to try and get past. Race leaders are getting a bit closer now as well, maybe uncomfortably close for Caruana. Here comes the move from Matthew Crisp in towards Brooklands. They make contact coming off the corner, however. Is there an opportunity for Jack Jeffries to try and pick up the pieces here? Goes for a gap that doesn't exist on the inside of Luffield there. Has to stay behind now, as this gives Will Hope a bit of breathing room.
Edward Hope has a black flag for instant points. That just caused him to go over the limit there. So black flag for Edward Hope. That'll drop him down the order. He needs to now just be a nuisance to Matthew Crisp to help William hold on to that podium.
I'm looking at overall race lead as well, because there might be traffic affecting it in the final sector. But there's the battle down in AM. There is Matt Caruana, just about catches the traffic in the right place at the right time. That's Denise Pope just getting herself out of the way down the hangar straight. Will Eatwell also able to get through on her there. It's close between the 2 race leaders, battling arms ahead as well. further back through the field. You've got attempted swaps around. Jeffrey's 5th place here at the moment. Bit of traffic through the final couple of corners for Caruana and Eatwell. But it is Matt Caruana who comes up to Club Corner and takes the double race win here at Silverstone as well. Across the line he comes, takes it all. A deep breath once again for Matt. He knows how hard he had to work for both of these race wins.
My goodness, he almost lost it then over the line, I must say. It was incredibly close there, and if that timing line was just a little bit further down the road, he would have possibly lost that lead right at the line there. But great stuff from Matt Caruana. Keeps up that perfect winning streak going in Pro. Adam Greaveson and Alistair Pollock still fighting, but Pollock drops back through Luffield. We'll have to wait for everybody to finish the race before we'll be able to give you the full results because of that black flag to Edward Hope. That will mean that it will give him a time penalty automatically post-race because he did not serve a drive-through penalty. But I tell you what, as much as it's been great watching the pros, it's a little bit gutting that we've not been able to look at the AMs because there has been some good racing further down in that AM field, and this one in particular, Chase, Chard and Weller, has been pretty close for the final 10 minutes.
Absolutely, but meanwhile, all is quiet in the land of Aiden Carter as he's 10.5 seconds ahead of everyone else in towards Vale for the final time for the 43. So the same as Matt Caruana, it's Aiden Carter that takes the double race win here at Silverstone, but in the AM category. Fantastic stuff from Carter as he heads his way across the line. Battles further down though, Christian Chard trying to hold on to a position over Roy Weller. They're getting close down in towards the Vale here. Weller tries to go around the outside of the second apex. A little bit of a compromised line there. Didn't quite get the traction down. Good did Chris Chard, but he has the inside and has the track position across the line, despite Weller trying to extend the track limits, as there's a move down the inside from Nick Scott over Cav Bud, I believe that was, in towards the final chicane. That was a lunge from very far back from Nick Scott, and I don't think the stewards are going to be really pleased with that.
And Cav Bud got a black flag for that as well because he went over the instant point limit. Oh my goodness, wow. We've got the official results now, but my goodness, that was a heck of a race and certainly one to watch for the ages. You want to watch this one back on the VOD?
You do, as it's Matt Caruana winning by just shy of 0.4 of a second over Will Eatwell. So despite there being, at least in the second half of that race, not much active fighting for the race lead, they still kept each other honest and very close indeed. Will Hope in P3, so picks up a podium, does Will Hope, with a fantastic finish here. Same could not be said for his teammate though, and so the opposite Hope, Ed Hope, getting himself a penalty in the latter stages of this race, drops him down the order. It does mean that Matthew Crisp goes up to P4, Jack Jeffries P5, and then Dave Martin P6. George Tyler also benefiting out of that, same with Luke Andrews 7th and 8th. Then you got Ben Smith and Glenn Humberston rounding out the top 10 there. So Ed Hope at the end, he ends up 11th. So it is quite a severe penalty if you don't serve your drive-through penalty for instant limit here by the end of the race. We got Ben Cooper in 12th with Chris Hitzrue to 13th and Cody Cosford 14th. The AM category looks like this. Aiden Carter once again taking it all there. Mike Pierce in P2 with Adam Greaves in P3. Alistair Pollock in P4 with Carl Chase in 5th. Chris Chard in P6 with Nick Scott Dickerson P7. Then you got Roy Weller P8, Cav Bud P9, and Denise Pope in 10th. So, and Wayne Basson is the last car classified. So, a fantastic race. Of course, the bombastic excitement of race number 1 continued into the start of race number 2. Caruana, that car, involved in both of those situations. Hopefully, we'll get a word with him at some point over the course of this evening. And actually, he is one of the ones that's waiting for an interview right now, Paul.
Yeah, certainly. Well, congratulations, Matt. It seems to be we speak every week here. But another 2 race wins, but boy, were you made to work for those race wins, weren't you?
Yeah, that was the best week so far, I think. Not just because of the wins, obviously, but the fighting. I had a lot of fun with Jack and Will. bit of an incident in the first one, but I think it's just an iRacing thing. Not really much you can do, but yeah, nah, it was a great week.
Well, I mean, we'll start off with qualifying because it wasn't the best. Those wet conditions, did they just catch you out a little bit with that being that damp, almost dry conditions?
Yeah, I think I've always struggled a little bit in those conditions, especially in quali, because obviously I don't know whether to go for wets or dries or anything, but I just got a lap in and then got my head down in the race, but yeah.
And then, of course, you mentioned it there. I mean, how difficult is it to keep your focus when you've got not just one driver, but multiple drivers behind you, all putting the pressure on you when you're in the lead of a race like this?
Yeah, especially in these cars where it's close and the track at like Silverstone, where the draft is just, it's impossible to drop someone. Yeah, no, it's a lot of pressure, especially with these two, the close racing that we had. But yeah, you just got to keep focused really and not make mistakes, and yeah.
Well, congratulations, Matt. Enjoy the week off next week, because in 2 weeks' time, we've got Alton Park.
Thank you, appreciate it.
There we go. That was Matt Caruana, your race winner in Pro. Let's speak to our AM race winners once again. Aidan Carter, I mean, again, I seem to be speaking to you every week. Another 2 wins here, but especially in that first race, it didn't look as easy as the gap showed at the end.
Yeah, hi again, guys. Yeah, the first race definitely was a lot trickier. I think the mixed conditions definitely didn't play into my favour. It's kind of the same as Donington at the start of the year, start of the season, sorry. It was a damp first race, and I just don't seem to perform very well when the track temperatures are quite cold. So yeah, Mike was really putting the fight up in the first race, and I was just able to hold him off before he made a small error that gave me a bit of a gap. So yeah, the first race was definitely very tricky. Second one was a little bit easier, but yeah, I just don't seem to be suited to cooler temperatures.
Well, I mean, that second race, he did end up pulling out a bit of a gap over Mike in the end there, but this first half of the season, you can't really ask for it to go any better than to be winning every week. But going into the second half of the season now, is it just a case of just getting the points, not having to fight too hard if you don't find yourself in the lead?
Yeah, I think it would be a dream to continue the winning streak, but I think because of how well the first half of the season has gone now, if I do for some reason not lead a race later on in the season, I don't have to worry too much about it. I've got quite a big lead now in the championship, so yeah, pressure's off in that case. If I do have to race for a race win, I don't have to race particularly hard.
Well, congratulations once again, 2 race wins here today, Aidan Carter. Enjoy the next week off.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys.
There we go. That's Aidan Carter, who finished himself as race winner in both races for AM. We'll speak to Will Eatwell next then. He finished himself second place in that second race. Started after finishing 5th in the first race. We'll talk about that first race. To start with, mixed conditions. You went with the slick tyres this time after learning from Donington Park. How tricky is it? Explain to those at home, how tricky is it with slick tyres at the start of the race on damp conditions?
Yeah, it's very tricky, especially when you're at the front of the field, because you've got no one in front of you to gauge braking points or anything, or just general corner speeds. And especially when it's like a wet dry, it's just on the borderline. It's quite hard to tell which parts of the track are slicker than others. So you just got to slowly bring yourself up to speed and hope the field don't go by you.
Of course, it would be reticent of me not to ask about the incident that happened at Stowe Corner in race 1. Is it just one of those things of just the slightest of contact and around you go?
Yeah, it seems like once the contact was made, you kind of get glued together a little bit, and then there's really nothing either of us could have done at that point, I don't think. But I was quite happy I was able to recover to P5 at the end of that one.
And then made a storming drive up into second place and fighting for the race win all the way through. I mean, it's really difficult to get to the front so quickly and then to be putting a consistent challenge up at the front, isn't it?
Yeah, the start of race 2 was really good. It was some of the best racing I've had in this series. really happy to have fought my way through, and yeah, like you say, just tried to get the hammer down once I did get to the front to build as much as of a gap to the battle pack behind.
Well, congratulations up. That's a podium to finish off your day. Not a bad result at all, and take that into the next couple of rounds.
Excellent, thank you.
There we go, Willie. Well, joining us there, and now we'll get to speak to Mike Pierce from the AM class. Finished second place in this race, and Mike, I mean, talk us through that. You did start behind Aiden on the grid. It seemed to be a bit of a lonely race for Aiden at the front, but you were being kept busy in second place in that second race, weren't you?
Yeah, second race was hard work at the start. Adam behind me just had to defend for my life, really. He seemed faster at the start, so I had to just do what I could to keep him behind me. I didn't quite see what happened. I know I lost him for a moment through there. I don't really know what happened, so I'll have to watch that back. But he seemed quick. He was gaining on me at the end again, so I think he had the pace. So yeah, he could have gone either way, really.
I want to touch on race one as well, because with that mixed conditions, we saw in qualifying all of the GT4s all went onto the slick tyres. Is that the benefit of having that traction control and ABS to help you out, rescue you from an incident?
I think it probably is. I don't know if we could have done it in the P-Cups. But we all went out in practice. At the end of practice, there was like a 10-minute window. Everyone went out on slicks just to try it, and we all started setting our best time. So we all knew we'd have to do it. The curbs were deadly. You had to stay away from the curbs. Any touch on the curbs, and you're either going straight on or you're going round. And then yeah, just do what you can. I seem to do well in these conditions, even though I don't really like them. Donington round one, I did okay. And then today, obviously, race one, I did okay as well. So I seem to do well, even though I'm not a fan. That's how it is, I guess.
And just very briefly, first half of the season, how would you assess your first half of the season so far?
Pretty good. I think I've got unlucky in a couple of bad results that have knocked me down the standings a little bit. So hopefully I can stay out of trouble in the next few races and gain those points back and see if I can get on the podium. I knew today I had to try and beat Adam and Alistair as well if possible. So yeah, it's a case of getting as many points back as I can.
Well done on the podium there, and all the best for the final two rounds.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Fez.
And then, last but certainly not least, welcome to the podium and the commentary booth, William Hope. I mean, William, my goodness,
hey.
What a second race that was.
Yeah, I know. I think I managed to go from, I think it was like 10th or 11th to 6th just by getting a good start. And then just stuck on the back of my brother. It was brilliant. Yeah, it was great. That's where I should be, I think.
Well, we'd love to see you up there fighting for it. But with those two at the front just battling away, was it just giving you that, and I hate to use the pun, giving you that little bit of a hope that maybe those two tangle and you get yourself the top step?
Yeah, like George Russell. No, I was trying to, Ed let me through. I let him through at Snetterton. When he let me through, I thought I'd try and pull him along a little bit. Turns out that's not gone too well. I think he got disqualified in the end. But no, to be honest, I just let them go and didn't think about them. I couldn't do anything about it anyway.
And, well, I've asked one or two of the drivers, how have you seen this first half of the season? It's been a mixed bag, hasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know how we've managed to get a drying track twice now. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy the changing conditions. I feel like it's coming down to a last race where it'll just be torrential rain. But who knows? I think a pit stop midway through the race would really spice things up.
Oh, it certainly would. Well, I mean, go away, enjoy that one. Podium here in the second race. Congratulations.
Cheers, guys.
There we go, Connery, getting to speak to many of the drivers, and a very happy William Hope there at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. He seemed pretty ecstatic for a P3 at the end there. Just it's a bit of a shame that his brother got the penalty, because otherwise it would have been a good point haul for the both of them. But yeah, it's great to see different names towards the very top of these orders sometimes. And actually, for a while there, you know, both Ed and Will were in that leading train. Who knows what might have happened in some slightly different circumstances. But yeah, some very, very good racing here today. It sets us up quite well for the second half of the season. Of course, Caruana getting maximum points after maximum points. It's a very, very tough tough thing to try to overcome for some of the other drivers right now. But this race and these races have shown that he's not completely untouchable. It is possible to try and get alongside him, get ahead of him on occasions. It's just no one done so at the checkered flag this time around.
No, absolutely not. And, well, 2 weeks' time, we head to my favourite track in all of the world of motorsport. It is Oulton Park on the international layout as well, so the full-length track. And it's the very first track that I ever went to as a young child, and I just fell in love with the place. It's fantastic for racing. Difficult to overtake at, but these drivers will certainly enjoy the challenge.
They'll find some way to get themselves alongside, that's absolutely no doubt. But yes, of course, we have a 2-week, well, we have a bit of a week's break, okay? So we won't be here same time, same place next week. We'll be here same time, same place in 2 weeks' time for our round at Oulton Park. But from here at Silverstone, it's been some crazy racing. It's been some crazy, crazy overtakes and battles and bits of contact here and there. Never did anyone harm. But of course, we have to wait 2 weeks until we get more action here in the Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge Great Britain. But for now, we will have to say goodbye and see you in 2 weeks.